Alright, YouTube, Twitch, wherever you're watching, TikTok. Today we're going to be filling out our March Madness bracket. Now, as an avid college basketball watcher, this bracket is going to be my most serious attempt at trying to get the results right. It's obviously not going to be perfect. 3 days from now, the tournament starts. But we're going to try our best. And I'm a Gators fan. The Gators are not in the March Madness tournament. Usually when they are, I don't have them going that far ever anyways, unless we're a really good team. So there's going to be no bias in any of this. I've watched a lot of SEC basketball, a lot of Big East basketball, because the Big East is my favorite conference, and whether it be football, basketball, they don't have football, but whether it be any sport, SEC and football is up there, but Big East and basketball is just, it's out of this world, talent-wise, game-wise, the teams. Some of these teams are actually in the tournament, and we're going to get to that in a second. So without further ado, we're going to start in the southern region of the bracket. So this has teams like Bama, Virginia, Baylor, Arizona, but we're just going to start off slow. Bama's not getting upset. Bama is going to win it. I hope this doesn't come back to bite me, but I don't think it will. Now here's where it already gets tough. Maryland, West Virginia, two very good teams. West Virginia can score. Maryland has the defense. Now, although it's a tough matchup, this is one of those that's going to be a bracket buster, but we're going to go Maryland. We're not going to say that West Virginia upsets them, because I think the Maryland defense will prevail. Now, San Diego State, Charleston. This would be my first upset of the tournament out of any pick that we're going to make today, and that is because not only does Charleston not have a horrible defense, but their scoring is very good. And San Diego State does have a good defense, but we'll see what happens. They're playing in the Amway Center, so it's a neutral site, whereas this game right here is happening in Alabama, so Alabama's going to have all the fans in the world on their side. And then we got Virginia Furman, another game where you could pick Furman to upset, but I don't think that's going to happen. Virginia plays a very slow brand of basketball. Their defense is unmatched. It is matched, but it's one of the best in the nation. So Virginia, I'm going to give them the win there. Creighton versus North Carolina State. This is one of my games where in almost every bracket, I think in every bracket, I have Creighton winning. I hope that is the case because I love Creighton. The Blue Jays, one of my favorite teams in college basketball. You look at some of their wins and losses, they did lose to Xavier, who's on the other side of this bracket, 2 times, which is not ideal, but they beat tough teams like Arkansas, UConn, Providence. But losing to Marquette twice is kind of like, I wish they would have won one of those so that I could have put them going farther. But we'll see what happens there. Baylor, UCSB, this is another tough one because UCSB is another team that could be the upset team here. Baylor coming off a tough loss. They did not win their conference championship, but I think Baylor is going to get it done in the grand scheme of things. Another game right here could be an upset, could not be an upset. Utah State versus Missouri. Now here's a game where Utah State could easily upset Missouri, and that is because Utah State is a tough team. They play tough physical basketball. They're fun to watch, and they're efficient, which is one of the things that gets teams to go the farthest. They have great defense. But the thing here is right here. 0-2 against top 25 teams, whereas Missouri has 6 wins, 2 of them being against Tennessee. However, the one thing that's going to hold me from putting them all the way going to like the Sweet 16 is that they lost to Alabama twice and to Kansas by 28. They could not stay in the games that they lost heavily. So for that reason, I think I'm going to go Missouri, but it's so hard. I might have to go Utah State. I might have to go Utah State here because Utah State's defense is going to be tough for Missouri to beat. So I'm going Utah State, and I'm right here, Princeton versus Arizona. Princeton won the Ivy League tournament, but I believe they beat Yale in the Ivy League tournament. Princeton, I don't know. When they lost to Iona, it was a tough game. But they're a team that isn't going to get it done against Arizona, and it's because the scoring of Arizona is unparalleled. Arizona's going to get that one done. Now, here's where people are saying that Purdue has a tough challenge over here in the eastern region of the bracket. I think they get by in round one, but Memphis and FAU, this is going to be game of the round 64, I think. FAU is a team that could go very far because if they beat Memphis, they could easily beat Purdue. Now, FAU's biggest victory came against my Florida Gators, and they're a team that only has lost 3 times. So, it's one of those teams where you just have to either have faith in this team when you're picking them for your brackets, or you just don't, and you don't really watch college basketball, so you wouldn't know how good FAU has been, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Memphis is another team. It's so tough. Like, Memphis is such an underrated team. It's a who do you pick? Memphis had an underrated season. So, I don't know. With this is just so hard, but my heart is telling me FAU. But I love Memphis here too, and I hope that either one of them beats Purdue. Not really the biggest Boilermaker fan, even though I love the products that they produce, Darius Garland included. Now here we go to Duke versus Oral Roberts. I have not been a big Oral Roberts upset fan. Not at all, actually, and I think their loss to Houston signifies, and Houston's the best team in the nation, but I think it signifies they might not have what it takes to beat a team like Duke and St. Mary's, who's also in the March Madness tournament, but they're on the other side, they're on the western side. I just don't think Oral Roberts is going to get it done, so for that reason, I'm going Duke, and Duke might have a chance to go far here because Tennessee is a little bit banged up, but Tennessee's still playing good basketball, and they're going to continue to play good basketball. But I do think they're going to beat Louisiana. That's a pretty easy one for me, but we'll see what happens. A lot of people are picking Tennessee to get upset. Kentucky versus Providence. This is a tough game, and it always is between SEC and Big East teams because Providence is not underrated, but Providence has some good victories. For example, they beat Marquette, which is a tough win. They also lost to Marquette, but it's still a win is a win. And then they lost to UConn twice, Xavier twice, but they did pick up a win versus Creighton, and they held their own against Miami. But you can see right here, a lot of the people are saying that it's going to be Kentucky. Now, Kentucky is a great team this year, I feel like. Not in the sense where they have been in the past, but I don't think they're horrible this year, and I think their defense keeps them in games, and when they get their offense going, they're pretty good. So I'm going to go Kentucky over Providence here. Kansas State. Now, this team has an ex-Florida Gator, Keontae Johnson. I'm so proud of him to see his growth and how far he's gone. This team is fun to watch, and they have some very impressive victories and some tough losses that they let get away from them, but they have very impressive victories, and I just don't see them losing. And I see this once we get into the round of 32. This is going to be one of those teams that could make it far just because of what bracket they're in. But then you go here, and this is where it gets tough. USC and Michigan State, this is a toss-up in my opinion. Anybody can win this game. Now, Spartans, they have great offense, but USC isn't bad themselves, and they're so efficient when it comes to playing basketball. It's actually crazy. They beat UCLA. They beat Arizona State, who might be in this tournament by the time this video is done. We'll see. They beat Auburn. They lost to Arizona, lost to Oregon, lost to Wisconsin. But you go to the other side of the pond here, Michigan State. They lost to Purdue twice. They held their own against Gonzaga. But you got to really just toss up a blind faith here. You either believe in Izzo, or you think that the Trojans are going to get it done. This is a tough matchup, kind of a cool matchup, Spartans versus the Trojans. I'm going to go with the Spartans, but anything's possible. The eastern side of the bracket, anything is possible. I think Purdue is a lock to move on, but Texas Southern I don't think would get it done if they do get in. And I think Duke is a lock, but anything, and Marquette. But there are 4 or 5 matchups here that are not a lock at all, especially FAU versus Memphis, but I got faith in FAU. And then Marquette versus Vermont, I apologize to Vermont, but this is the easiest lock I've had to make in the tournament. Anything could happen, so take the word easy very lightly, but Marquette is a very complete team, and I wish they were this good when Marcus Howard was on the team. But Marquette has just been utterly insane this year, and, they're the golden team of this tournament other than Houston. So we're switching to the Midwest region. Houston, Northern Kentucky. I think Houston's the easiest lock here. The championship game is in Houston, and we could see Houston play and win the tournament in their city. And then here, Iowa, Auburn, another tough matchup. The 8-9 matchups are so tough. You just have teams that play good basketball, and they play tough basketball. Auburn, I've watched a lot of, having the SEC network, ESPN2, ESPN. Auburn's all over. Auburn is ESPN. They are the SEC. But the good thing about Auburn here is that if there's a team that they could beat in this tournament, it's Iowa. If there's a team that they can't beat in this tournament, it's Houston. So even if they do get by Iowa, they got to face Houston. So I'm going to give Auburn the win here, but just know, this Houston matchup, I'm going Houston already. So right there, I'm already going Houston. I'm actually already going to go Bama on the other side too. So the number ones I think are getting to the Sweet 16. Miami Drake. This is a tough matchup. I've seen the meme on, hey, can I post my bracket? Houston will crumble under the pressure as they are the host city. That's interesting, Mild Child. Thank you for the follow. That's interesting. I don't think they will. I think that Houston's just too good this year, and I don't think they're going to crack under the pressure. But if you think they will, that's crazy. Miami, Drake, these are two tough teams. Miami is so underrated. It's actually crazy. Drake, though, is one of those upset teams. I just feel bad for Drake because they're getting such a hard team, and I don't think they'll be able to do it. Indiana's also a lock for me. Indiana is also underrated, in my opinion. They're a top 20 team in the nation. BPI agrees. They beat Purdue twice. They beat Xavier. They beat Illinois twice. They beat Michigan State. They beat Maryland. Like, they have beaten teams in this bracket. So it's like, Indiana, they could do some real damage. Iowa State versus Pitt or Mississippi State. I don't think Pitt or Mississippi State has enough to beat Iowa State. I think Iowa State is actually very, very good. And then Xavier versus Kennesaw State. Xavier is my team. I love Xavier. They're my second favorite team in college basketball. And for good reason. I just love watching them on FS1. And they're just a tough team. They play tough basketball and they play fun basketball. It's such like a fun team to watch. I do have Xavier winning, although it's going to be hard for them to get by Iowa State. Texas A&M versus Penn State. This is going to be one of the best games in the round of 64. Such a tough game to pick. This game, you could go either way, except I believe Texas A&M is just too good and they're going to get it done. Then Texas versus Colgate. I think Texas is going to get it done. Kansas versus Howard. Love Howard. I love that they're in the tournament, but I think it's going to be too tough of a team for them, and I do think Kansas is going to win it. But I do love Howard, and I wish they were facing maybe Purdue. I'd pick them against Purdue as an upset. I really would. Arkansas versus Illinois. This is a team right here where Arkansas is good. Illinois is good. Another tough matchup. This just has to do with, is Illinois going to come out and play like they're a team of are they going to play like a team? Because if they forget how to play as a team, it's just going to be a disaster, and Arkansas is going to win. And I think that Illinois could come out and play like a team, but I also think Arkansas and the Razorbacks are just too good, and they will get it done. St. Mary's versus VCU. I think I have St. Mary's in every bracket I've done. It's nothing against VCU. It's just St. Mary's is on a whole nother level when it comes to basketball this year. Another team that's on a whole nother level, Iona. I think Iona is pretty good, and Rick Pitino obviously is leading this team to new heights, and Iona could easily beat UConn, but I think UConn's going to get it done. Although that Iona versus St. Mary's matchup would be fun to see. TCU versus either Nevada or Arizona State. I don't think Arizona State and Nevada are going to get by TCU regardless. The defense of TCU is really good, and I think they're just going to, either one of them will get demolished, but we'll see though. You never know what happens. Gonzaga versus Grand Canyon. No offense to Grand Canyon, but this is an almost unwinnable matchup for them. Gonzaga is just going to steamroll them, you would think. Northwestern versus Boise State. Boise State is a team, I love them. But Northwestern this year has been very good. This is another tough game. It's in Sacramento, where they light the beam every night nowadays. And, if you're going to go off the numbers and all that stuff, I don't think that's how you should do it. You should pick in the team that you believe in, the teams that you've been watching, the teams that you really think can go far. Now, Boise State, good team. Northwestern, good team. I got to go Northwestern. UCLA versus UNC Asheville. UCLA, that's an easy pick for me. Back up to the South region. Alabama, Maryland. I picked them earlier. Bama's going. Virginia, Charleston. It's another tough matchup, but I'm going to go Virginia. Baylor, Creighton. I'm picking Creighton. Arizona versus Utah State. Picking Arizona. FAU versus Purdue. Picking FAU. Duke versus Tennessee. I'm picking Duke. Kentucky versus Kansas State. It's so hard, but I think I'm going to pick Kentucky. Michigan State versus Marquette. I think I got to go Marquette, and I really hope Marquette wins it. UCLA versus Northwestern. This is a toss-up, in my opinion. It could go either way, but I think UCLA is going to win. Gonzaga is going to beat TCU, but also a toss-up. Really hard bracket in the West. The West probably is the hardest teams to beat. I mean, you have to go through a whole just gauntlet, basically. UConn versus St. Mary's. I think UConn gets it done. Kansas, Arkansas. If Kansas is going to get upset, it's going to be against Arkansas, but I don't think they will. Texas versus Texas A&M. If Texas is going to get upset, it's going to be against Xavier or Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M has a decent shot of beating Texas, and I'm still going to have to go with... I'm going to go with Texas A&M. We'll change it up. Xavier, Iowa State is going to be hard for either team. I'm going to go Xavier, and then this game, it's so hard. It's just like, who do you pick here? I think I have to go with Indiana. I believe in them for some reason. Houston, Indiana. I got to go Houston. And obviously I picked Houston to beat Auburn. Right here, Xavier, Texas A&M. It's so tough because you're believing in a team that really has given you reasons to believe in them this year and has given you reasons to not believe in them this year. I think I gotta go. I really want Xavier, and I've been picking Xavier in other brackets, but for this bracket, I think I gotta go Texas A&M. Bama versus Virginia, I gotta go Bama. Bama's just so strong this year. If Arizona gets upset, it's right here. It's Creighton versus Arizona. This is the game that they get upset in. I do think Arizona has a chance. I mean, Creighton has a chance to beat Arizona, but I'm going to have to go with Creighton. I've been picking them every bracket, basically. FAU versus Duke. FAU could really go far because Duke is a team that they could beat. If they just play their brand of basketball, they could beat Duke. There's no reason for them not to beat Duke. It's in MSG. Duke's going to have a lot of fans in MSG. It's going to be a loud atmosphere. I think Duke gets it done because Duke's kind of been here before. Another game in MSG. Marquette versus Kentucky. You could say the same thing for Marquette here. They could easily beat Kentucky. And I think they will. I think they will beat Kentucky. And I really want to see Marquette in the final. UCLA versus Gonzaga. I got to go UCLA here. But Gonzaga could easily win. Like, this is a toss-up. This is going to be a bracket buster. But I'm going UCLA. I think the Bruins can do it. I think they will do it. Right here's another tough matchup. UConn versus Kansas. But I did say Arkansas would be the team to beat Kansas, and I don't think Arkansas will. So I will go with Kansas. But UConn could upset them. You never know what happens. And then Alabama, Creighton, Houston versus Texas A&M. Give me Bama. Give me Houston. I'm sorry. That's just how it's going to be. Duke, Marquette. I'm praying for Marquette, but it could be Duke. It really could. But I'm going to have to go Marquette. And then UCLA versus Kansas. Give me UCLA here because I think if Kansas makes it this far with their tough matchups, and Gonzaga has tough matchups, and so does UCLA, but if Kansas makes it this far, they're not going any farther. I think UCLA beats them. I really hope so. And then the Final Four, you got 2 games, Houston, in your own city. They don't have a lot of fans because Houston's not that big of a school, but give me Houston. And over here, I really want Marquette. I really do, but give me Bama. I think Bama is playing tremendous basketball this year. But at the end of it, give me Houston. And 78-70. It might not even get that high of a score, to be honest. But actually, give me 74. This is what I think. This is the bracket that happens to go on YouTube and Twitch today. It's going to be interesting. It's very, very fun bracket this year. I feel like you got a lot of tough teams. There's so many great matchups in the first round alone. There's going to be great matchups in the second round, no matter who wins in the first round. There's going to be great matchups. It does start to get a little bit weak as you hit the Sweet 16, no matter which way you look at it, just because there are some powerhouses this year. Like, there are some real powerhouses, but March Madness, anything can happen. It starts in 3 days. We're I think we're 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away now from the national champion being crowned. So that's been the bracket. If you have your own bracket, let me know. Let me know who you think is winning, because I think it's going to be Houston. I think Houston, in the Houston Texans stadium, by the way, so a big stadium to be playing basketball in, but I think Houston gets it done. And I don't know if anybody has noticed this ever, but Kentucky and Houston's logo is exactly the same. Just you can kind of see it here. Look at that logo, and then look at that logo. It's exactly the same, just a H and a K. But that's going to do it as we submit our picks. We got Houston.